It came from the sky. It came from heaven. It is package from China time. Let's go. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in today's video we're going to be doing a little bit of a chit chat about the X10 Pro Edition 2.4G wireless controller gamepad. You know, I love these boxes when it comes to these weird, wicked things. For example, over here we're going to be having a professional game chip today. Classic games, 2.4G wireless, Connect TV, search games and double rocker control. So let's go. So when it comes to these game sticks, it's kind of interesting because there's nothing really as a stick about it, or it looks like a stick but you don't stick it in, you know what I mean? Normally like we can just remove this part and we just stick it in, but this is just like very tiny, very interesting plug and play 8K. Oh yeah, we're having now the 8K. You know, oh man, I think the first generation wasn't even 1080p, but you know, or at least like 4K, and now having 8K, game TV, game stick, having HDMI. We're using USB-C now for powering on, so having two USB, but oh man, what we're not getting is an on and off switch. That's unfortunate. Still those non-brand SD cards, because these things can get corrupted. So let's check it out. We're having over here the same kind of toilet paper manuals. That makes no sense whatsoever. So, dear customer, good day, indeed, good day. Let's take a close look in here. We have the dongle for communication with the controllers. But let's see what kind of controllers are we getting today, because we don't have these PlayStation 2 knockoff chemical ones. So, ooh, I must say they don't feel that bad. They have like this very nice smooshy feel. It's kind of funny, is that both are actually feeling completely different. This is my like smooth, like, no, okay. Yeah, okay, that's not like it's supposed to be. So over here we're going to have the compartment, two AAA batteries. We do have like an on-off switch, so that's convenient. Two joysticks over here, A, B, X to Y, and the overall feel, and it's quite comfortable. This is not rubber, but just like really cheap plastic. We have the option, I think that's kind of cool. We can remove this piece of plastic and we can just put in a normal D-pad. I think that is absolutely cool if it's going to be fitting in. Let's see. Oh, I messed it up. Let's put it in here. Oh. Yeah, this feels nice. It's not like the best D-pad, but it's absolutely nice. So over here we're going to be having the HDMI connection, or the cable, a very short one, and then USB-C cable for powering on. But how do we connect it? That's what I'm going to be showing you today too. And before you're thinking we're going to be having a glitch in the matrix, we're going to be having one USB dongle that actually communicates with both of the controllers. Just want to point it out. But how are we going to be connecting this? It's quite simple. So one side we're going to be plugging in the HDMI cable. Here we're going to be plugging next to the USB-C for powering on, and that's it. And if everything's supposed to be working like it's, yeah, I can see the LED turns on over here. It will also indicate the LED on the monitor, and we're going to be having some communication going on. And let's see, is anything happening? The 3D game stick. Ooh, that's the software I did see before. I hope they improved it, because the previous one was not really that great, what I can remember. Do we get an intro? Do we get an intro? Do we get an intro? Hypermax V8. Oh yeah, we got some really funky tunes, and we can actually like switch between a couple of them. So the overall interface looks pretty good. I must say that I am surprised. This thing was actually called the Game Stick. We have seen those very strange Pandora's box looking kind of software. But when you're going to be looking at the overall configuration, I would say this is not bad at all. Pressing start will give you some EmuElec settings. So let's see what we can do. Let's see which button I actually need to press. Audio device. We have the option to show RetroArch FPS that I'm going to be turning on. Enable the RetroArch splash. Audio device. But let's see what we're going to be having more options. We cannot shut down the freaking music itself. The weird thing is that it has been set to 720p 60 Hz, where the monitor is actually way higher resolution. But it's quite limited, and it has to do because we're going to be needing to unlock the system itself. But let's unlock the UI if we can actually do that. So normally it's going to be AAABA, or it's going to be BBBAB. Ah, there we go. It depends how they configure the A and B buttons. Oh yeah, UI locked, and the reason why, because I just wanted to see what's going on over here. So we can even mess around with all kinds of settings. Game selections, you can change everything out, and in this case we can shut down the front end music. Oh, that's so much better. But how is it with the overall, let's say, soundtracks? This is pretty I don't know if it's going to be interesting or more annoying, but so when it comes to the configuration, you can see all kinds of systems. Atari, we have some arcades, Intellivision, MSX, Vectrex, you name it, but they mess it up with default. Okay, it seems to be the PC Engine. So you know, the image, it's not perfect, but they did at this point a good job. But let's get into the overall configuration. Okay, that noise is really nice, but also kind of annoying. We can even change it out over here if you want to. Show overlay music when changes. Is this a thing that nope, it's not the thing I want to change out, but we can figure out how to get this freaking enable sound. Ah, there we go, navigation sound. Is that the one? Oh yeah, that's much better too. So we're going to be having all kinds of different configuration of systems that we can play on so many different ones. I find it absolutely annoying that Virtual Boy doesn't have anything when it comes to the overall, let's say, logo. We're having some Game Boy over here. So the overall configuration also with the layout can be changed out if you want to. And yeah, when it comes to the overall ports, everything, that's interesting to see what can we actually play. Does it even boot up? Let's start off with Doom, of course. And let's see if we can even boot up the game. If we can boot up Doom itself. Because that's one of the things that sometimes goes wrong. Oh, it seems to be working. Don't have audio. Oh yeah, we don't have audio at all. Okay, that's unfortunate. We don't have audio at all. That makes me wonder, is this like a general problem? Pressing select will bring you back to the main menu. But the weird thing is, like, is this an overall general problem with this particular game? Or is this just like, I just messing something up with the menu and the audio itself? Okay, that's interesting that it still has, also Quake doesn't have any audio. But let's move into some gaming. Let's start off with the PlayStation 1. You do see some glitches over here and I have no idea what's going on, but the overall audio in the menu is messed up. I've been messing around with it again to see if I can start working at it, but somehow when it comes to the overall configuration of the main menu, I think I messed it up or some kind. It was kind of weird. However, we do have like widescreen, as you can see over here. That's one of the things we can actually manage to get around if you want to get into the main menu, if you want to squeeze it back to 4:3 if you want to. But I just wanted to see how the emulation is. The D-pad is absolutely amazing to play with. The analog stick is not bad. So I'm glad they stopped using those freaking awful PlayStation 2 controllers, because this is such an overall better experience. But yeah, so far so good. But of course this is not like the most challenging thing that you can actually do when it comes to the PlayStation part. So PlayStation, you must say that the overall, I do like it how it looks, but it's kind of chaotic. I think if you want to search a game, it's always a little bit of a struggle, I can say. But when it comes to these devices, there's not a lot of stuff on here, because these games take up a lot of space. But let's look into some, let's say, some Place Portable, where we're going to be having some mixed overall performance. That is one thing to be sure, because these PlayStation Portable are quite difficult to over-emulate, but two-dimensional games are actually playable most of the time. You can see some really weird things going on when it comes to really strange games. Solitaire, we do have like Solitaire on here. But the point is that I just wanted to check out if there's like something interesting that has a little bit of an, that's going to be needing a little bit more power than most of these games that you can actually see over here. But so far, this is like all the weird, simple games, they will run just fine. Ninja Murai. Okay. Oh, don't you love it that you don't skip the intro? It's fun, the first, like I say, 2-3 times. But let's get into the game. Let's see if we can actually create one. Oh, there are already some save files on here. Glitching! Oh, it's just messing around, so let's skip this thing. We do have like a limitation because the SD card, virtual SD card is already full, but let's get into the game. Man, they released some really weird games on the PlayStation Portable. Alright, so... Oh, we have like stealth mode. Jeez, this looks like a really cheap knockoff of Shinobi. But these games will run just fine. But let's search something else. Let's search something that can be a little bit more difficult to overall emulate. But these game sticks are quite simple and nothing very fancy. Ooh, Jetpack Joyride, I like that. But the point is that we're going to be having an absolutely challenge to find something that is not PSP Mini related. Yep, this is going to be taking forever. And that's what I mean. I want to have like a full freaking list. We can switch between different lists if you're going to be pressing right, but so far there's no craziness. Let's go with God of War. Let's search. Ah, there we go. Change of linkiness, the change of kinkiness. Let's do that one. When actually starting the game, you can hit the 15 frames. So with the intro, glitching overload. Oh man, this is horrible. It's not even showing anything with some glitching and weird things. Yeah, this is going to be like one unplayable situation. So let's move on to the next one. But this is something I just wanted to show, that we can play PlayStation Portable Minis, but not like the real games, or most of them. And of course God of War Change of Kinkiness is a little bit more difficult. But why are there like multiple ones? I think I God of War, Ghost of Sparta, Change of Kinkiness, and another Change of Kinkiness. So there are like duplicate games. Yeah. That is convenient when it comes to the space itself. I mean, the storage space. It's quite unfortunate that everything is completely like in some widescreen craziness. I did have like I was hearing a slowdown. It's running 56 frames per second, but 64 Street is absolutely an amazing game. I've been enjoying this since I ever noticed this on the Ad Games arcade machine. But so far, also the controller seems to be working fine. Vectracker games on a widescreen 16:9 monitor. Oh man, this is not like how you're supposed to play that game. Hello? But it also got stuck. Yeah, great emulation. Let's try it again. There we go. And we're having over here the Vectracks. Okay. Maybe it's not configured. But, or is it me? Is this actually using a different controller? Let's connect the second one to make sure that it's nothing to do with the controller itself. I just want to make sure about this, actually how it's configured with Play 1 and Play 2. But nope. Epic fail. Doesn't work. So where this video actually started off me being like bitchy about all kinds of stuff. I tried to freaking power on the controller, but the point is that overall when you're going to be looking at, they say, the overall gameplay with like a lot of different systems like Game Boy is not going to be an issue. And I can tell you that these things are absolutely awesome when it comes to that. So in the corner you can actually see the frames per second now. And you know, these things, these game sticks are able to run a lot of these simple game systems. But that's it. Pressing twice, select and start again will bring you back to the main menu. But let's move into something else like the 16-bit era with some Super NES. And here you can just actually see also that it runs pretty well. I must say that I'm really surprised by the controller again. Like, I'm still surprised how well this actually plays with the D-pad. Like the overall like travel had like this really nice resistance, but this is really nice when it comes to just playing some shoot 'em ups or shmups over the beat 'em ups. So one of the experiences I had with the previous like game sticks is that of course having the horrible controllers, and that's one of the things they actually fixed. So the menu itself is quite nice. So many improvements they're still going to be giving us throughout the years. So pressing select and Y, having the option to go and do this particular menu of RetroArch, and we're going to make a quick load quick save or just close the content. It's always kind of funny to see that they're implementing the N64 because this is such an overall difficult emulation, or at least like emulation situation, and these cheaper game sticks have a lot of issues. But for example, we do have Cruise in the World. This is going to be testing now, but you know, Cruise in the USA, that is always like unplayable with many other ones, are removed. But I can already hear that crackling noise, and we do have like slowdowns. You can see it now in the top corner. So it's running like 23 frames per second. So this is not the way how you want to really enjoy some N64. So retro games again will be playable. This is just going to be an overall situation. And it was like fun to actually test out the N64 platform. And of course we can do an in-depth if you want to, when I have like a zillion different games, but the overall performance will be okay. You can see now it's going to the 30 frames per second, but that's it. This is what we're going to be getting when it comes to N64 in general. But let's try another one. Let's try some Killer Instinct Gold. Let's go with Glacius. Let's see if we can get ourselves like the certain levels. A couple of them were like glitching and everything. You can see the background actually like glitching sometimes. You can have some frame dips like crazy. So in my opinion, this should like remove N64 from the list, because this is not the way how you want to experience the old school glory days. Or, well, glory days for me personally. I did manage to get the audio back on, but it was kind of weird, like it's still not like 100%. But I just wanted to showcase that we can. Does it play Doom? Yep, we can actually play Doom. But it seems to be working now like it's supposed to be with freaking audio. Alright. Payback! Well, one thing is for sure, when I actually started the game, the frames are all over the place. Sega 32X, another system that is so cool. I love the original hardware, and WWF WrestleMania is absolutely one of those games I love to play. It's kind of pointless because you can actually boot up the original arcade version if you want to. Why do I always get my ass kicked in this game? There we go. Oh, got him. Come on. Oh, he got me. But one of the systems that is always very cool to see is the Sega Dreamcast, because man, if you love arcade games, man, this is such a cool system. And the overall emulation performance, where it is native, you can see that it's hitting 44 frames per second, 40 even, so this is not running on full speed, but you know, I think it's going to be an enjoyable situation. Let's do a little bit of a gameplay. It's okay. If you don't see the frame per second counter, I will not personally notice. But if you think about it, like it's absolutely insane to see is like how far these things have become, you know. We're talking about like inexpensive, let's say, game stick solutions. They cannot play like absolutely crazy amount of games. And with Sega Dreamcast, that's absolutely awesome. It's just one of the zombie revenge game I just love to check out. But there are of course so many other ones. This makes no sense. Confidential mission. Why do you want to have that in here? There's no light gun support. That would be a very cool way, if like a plug and play light gun. So that you can plug into the stick, so have a stick for the game stick with light gun solution. That would be awesome. So I was thinking, like, do we actually have Sega Saturn on here? That is a system we do see more often, but we're going to be having the similar results like the Sega Dreamcast, because this is a system that is not compatible, or like doesn't really work that great in general. So you can see there were some limitations. We do have the Nomi system, but actually we're going to be having similar kind of a situation. But, you know, it's interesting. Really interesting here. But at this point, if you're going to be looking at the game stick itself, it's absolutely clear that this is going to be a pretty cool device where we can have the option to play absolutely thousands of old school games. However, if you're going to be looking at it, you can see the limitations that's actually going on, where they sometimes overpromise with all kinds of craziness. In the end, what you're getting is of course just a game stick solution that they improved. Particularly when it comes to the controller itself, there is no rumble function in the controller, so this is like the basic as it can be. But beside that, knowledge performance for the old school games are pretty cool. And I think that is why you're going to be needed focusing on when you're going to be having a product like this. that brings me actually to the final part, or one of the final parts, is of the system settings. We didn't even check that, because we're going to be looking into the settings itself, information, and you can see that they're actually having, yeah, let's say 128 gigabyte, but in total 97.52, but it has to do, I think, a separate partition for the software itself, or the firmware, what I'm guessing. 55 Celsius when it comes to the overall configuration of the temperatures. We're running on the S95 X3 chip. That is not like super bad. Comes with the Mali G31 when it comes to the GPU. The overall layout looks pretty cool. It's unfortunate that they did mess it up with some parts over there. So we can even go to manufacturer if you want to. But I think it's a little bit of a downside. So, you know, when it comes to simple games, there we're going to have some overall great performance. 8-bit, 16-bit, handheld, stuff like that. Some simple arcade games. I love it that it had like 2 players now. And if you're going to be looking into this, you can just play 2-player games. Or if you're going to be using an extra set, you can even have 4-player, let's say, settings. Then we can just click and play these games with 4 players, or at least, yeah, Lamborghini Challenge or Auto Lamborghini Challenge for the N64. Piston Move, 4 players, seriously? A little doubt about there. Cruising the World, what? That's that like 4 player? Nevertheless, like a lot of cool things. We can make a favorite list, and you can play so much actually, even where this thing comes with limitations. I also love to rip these things apart to see what's going on. So the game stick, or the 8K game stick, that isn't actually a stick anymore. So you can see that like the quality seal of disappointment. I love to call it. Let's see if I can open it up with my fingernails. Sometimes these things are not very well clicked together. That was not the idea. But if you're going to be needing it open, normally what I'm always doing, being very careful. So at this point, like the openings with the USB ports, that is going to be very easy to actually open it up. And then with a pry tool, you can just slide it across. Be very careful. Most of the time I'm just clicking and destroying everything. So they did actually implement a very tiny piece of metal. It does get a little really hot, but there was no active fluid. But at least they put something of a metal situation over there. Let's see if there's anything going on. Nothing over here. Can we just remove this? Let's see if I can actually remove this with a prying tool. Alright, just use double-sided tape. So we can stick it back on. The S95 X3 indeed, from the EmuElec. However, this is actually what you see and what you're getting with this particular device. I must say that, so that's it. But I must say the configuration is similar to what I've seen before. The S95 X3, it's not like a super bad chip. The only thing I wish they went like putting you in real like brands in it, like good brands, Kingston, Samsung, you know, name them, like good ones that don't get corrupted. So, because I do wonder, like I did read a lot of people had problems with it, that these sticks are getting broken, but I think this most of the time this SD card. Let me know, what do you think? What is your experience? So from a reviewer perspective, you know, I have seen way too many of these things, but I must say at this point I'm getting a little bit more positive with the simple reason because these things are getting slightly better. And meaning, like don't get me wrong, it's still like the same shenanigans with many things like overall performance, but you can see that they are actually trying. So the overall performance, it's not like super bad. It's kind of cool to see like in X10 Pro 8K, the stick that can play all the way to Dreamcast, where N64 Dreamcast is a little debatable, of course, of the frame rate. But these things are fine when it comes to 8-bit, 6-bit and some handheld. Thank you all for watching. Consider subscribing, hit a little bell, and it will be great to see you in the next video.